on. It's Tuesday night and Fearless Flight Live. And if it looks like everybody bailed on us, they did. Dieter and his family got their second vaccine yesterday, and they're all a little bit under the weather. And so we're giving them the night off. Diane is working, and I think Elaine is still working on the baseball thing. I'm not sure. But anyway, so you're here with Eric and I, and we do have an ace in the hole here tonight. I mentioned the call-in feature last week, and we believe that it's going to work. And I don't know whether they can see the phone screen there, but anyway, we're going to throw it out to you tonight, and if it looks like what do we say? It looks like the kids are running the TV station tonight. That's Eric and I. So we're going to take that. So you got any words of wisdom for anybody out there, Eric? This, by the way, this is for people who are afraid to fly, or know somebody who's afraid to fly, or last category, if you just want to talk airplanes with us and do that. So I
was just going to say, if you, our viewers, see this portal with a telephone, there's a telephone number down the bottom. If you want to dial that and you have a question, we'll get to it. And the ring sounds like a fax machine, so don't get discouraged by the fax ring. It says you've reached Fearless Flight Live, and then it sounds like a fax deal, but that'll go away if you want to give it a try.
I've got a strange window came up here that said it's the streaming service. So and I can't even see Facebook. Oh my God, I can't even see my Facebook to see if people are live on it. Let me do that.
I got the live icon.
Okay.
Those of you who think I'm stupid, I'm going to be impressed. I'm going to attempt to juggle.
No, that didn't want that one. Friends, applications. Okay, play some traveling music there.
We actually had this. We worked on this last night and earlier today, and had this working really well. But this is the kind of thing when we're trying to talk about airplanes, and worrying about airplanes and that sort of thing, and we have technical support, and we have no technical support.
To juggle this.
Okay.
Really tricky.
Place applications menu. Watch.
We were going to talk lightning tonight.
This.
With our friend Tracy.
What?
And Tracy, if you're here, you want to call us, that'd be great. With our friend Tracy.
Okay, super.
And Tracy, if you're here, you want to call us.
Okay, looks like we are live. Somebody send me a message if you're on Facebook and let me know if you are getting the show right now. That would be helpful. Everything I can see says we're going out, Eric. Live at 3:15. Okay, all right. So
I'm still showing the live box.
Yeah, me too. Me
if
too.
I had something overpowering to talk about, I'd launch off on a soliloquy, but I don't.
Okay. I think I'm almost there. Live. Okay. So slight left to see the comments and the reactions. Okay, Tracy, you're watching. You're going to be the star here in a minute. So, all right. We never do this in the airplane, do we, Eric? We always know what we're doing before we get in the cockpit, and we don't make a habit of pressing buttons that we don't know what they're going to do before we press them. So
we generally have some idea before we show up of how we might organize things. Yeah.
Well, I got a whole bunch of stuff. I actually can see that we got people watching us. So that's the first time in like 3 years or something I've been able to do that. And we want to mention the second time we're going to dispense with the slides tonight, for the most part, and we're going to talk about joining our Facebook Birds of a Feather. We're up to almost 800 people. So we'll have to think of another promotion for that. And we want to encourage you to join our Birds of a Feather, FearlessFlight Birds of a Feather group. It's dynamic and interactive, and people are really saying some fantastic things in there, supporting each other, and we get some good questions out of there too. So we want to keep going on that. Tonight, like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to open this up to call in, and I've stacked the deck a little bit. I do have a person that's going to call in. She's going to be the first caller, and the number, I don't know, you didn't have the number. Did you give the number out there, Eric?
Yeah, it's still, if people can't see it, the phone number is 602-737-3804. But if you're watching, that should appear in the bottom of the screen with a telephone symbol.
Okay, cool. And so if you got a call, and when you call in, if there's somebody on the line, it'll put you into hold, and it'll ask you to just to verbalize what's on your mind. And then in theory, it's going to transfer that forward to us, and we're going to get you on the show if you want. We'd sure love to see some of you call in tonight. And okay, what else? I just want to say a little bit about, and this would be kind of the theme for tonight again. It's that we're still on this anticipatory anxiety and people getting all freaked out. I got people flying, people that have done coaching and all that, and when they get to the day before or the day of the flight, they're still a little bit freaked out. Would be the best term probably, and the hard, and that is hard. And I tell people, don't be surprised if you have some anxiety, despite working on it. What you're going to notice, and this is true to a person, for the people I've worked with, that when you get onto the airplane and you actually get going, the situational anxiety, what you really experience, is nowhere near what your anticipatory anxiety was. So that says to me, one big thing is it helps to prepare, and it helps to educate yourself, and it helps to have tools like the Fearless Flight Kit. So that's the most encouraging thing I can say to any of you out there who are sitting there on the fence. You want to fly, but you're not sure that it's going to work because it doesn't feel any different. It's not going to feel any different until you actually do it. And the amygdala, as you've heard me say time and again, is you have to actually have it activated, experiencing some fear and anxiety in order for you to get the benefits of exposure. And that's what this is all about here. So what I'd like to do is we're going to solicit anybody to call in, and we're going to open the lines up, as they say. And so if you've got a question, now is the time to call in and lay it on us. And we're going to use that tonight. So it's going to be your show, and you're going to be the stars tonight. So don't be bashful. If you don't do anything but call in and say hi, and to Eric and I, that would be fine. We just want to exercise this system and see if it works as advertised. So feel free to call us anytime, and that's 602-737-3804. Okay.
You just went over what would be a great poll question for our people that swore they would never fly, attended all the classes, the 101, 201, and then flew with us, and then ask them what % of the effort they expended worrying before the actual flight, as opposed to the effort they expended worrying on the flight.
Yeah.
And it's got to be 90 something %.
Yeah, and you've seen that with us when we actually fly with people. When you catch them sleeping coming home, and
I want to kill them.
yeah, absolutely. So all right. So if there's anybody out there, we're gonna keep talking for a little bit, and then we're gonna end it all if we don't get any calls. We're banking on some calls here tonight, and hopefully you'll have it.
You and I should start at least answering Tracy's questions about lightning. We'll start through that, and then we can just suspend discussions about lightning if we get a phone call. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. And let me go through that. We had a young woman that I just worked with went flying with her, and she is out and about doing her thing. Bless her heart. She got out there in the system, and she's been working it. And she's set to fly back on Thursday. And she's happens to be going through Chicago. So she's doing like most of you do. She pays attention to the weather. And she's noted this time of the year, I grew up just 50 miles east of there. This is the time of the year when we get a lot of weather, a lot of thunderstorms. And so she's been watching that over the last couple of days. And she asked, could we educate her on lightning and what effects it has on the plane? And so I told her I would do that, and hopefully she'll join us here. I may find out that she's having some trouble on that. But anyway, so just say a couple words about lightning, Eric. In general, you were looking up some accidents in the past, and there are few. Like how many flights do you think? What was the earliest accident that they attributed to lightning? Some sort of lightning?
The 50s, right? The early 50s.
Okay.
And so I just Googled it while we were trying to get our phone portal going, and there were 7 accidents that were attributed to lightning. And I looked at them, and they were in old turboprop airplanes generally in foreign countries. There were a couple in the United States, but they were long ago incidents, very few and far between. And then I went back up, and as my dad used to say, if all else fails, read the directions. Started reading the texts, and it said these were the accidents attributed to lightning strikes by the National Lightning something or other Institute. And I'm like, I've never heard of those guys. Who are those? Who are even those guys? And are they allowed to determine the cause of an airplane accident? So we started debating that, because there was nothing in there from the NTSB. And we thought, and when we were talking, as we say amongst ourselves, that may have been a causal factor, along with other bad weather, crew disorientation, things they were trying to manage in a strange environment. But to directly say the airplane was hit by lightning and knocked down, there was no word from the NTSB about that. And it's kind of hard for Ron and I to conceive of, because we dealt with that for decades and decades between the two of us. And I couldn't count, but I probably got hit 5 or 6 times in an airliner, and maybe some in a general aviation airplane. But it was so not significant in terms of worry for me. I even have a hard time remembering it. And
okay, stand by, Eric. I think we got Tracy. Yeah, that's
Tracy. All right.
There's the beep I was supposed to hear. Good evening, everyone.
Tracy, could that be you?
It could be. Thank you for beeping me in. I was getting all desperate over here.
I got 3 monitors here, and everything gets covered. And when you said, "Hey, I've been on the phone here," I finally said, "Oh, I got to click on the one with the monitor on it." So I don't know if anybody else is having fun, but I. How about you? Hey, well, we were soloing it. You hopefully you heard what we were talking about you.
Yes, I did, and I was listening intently to what Eric was just saying, because it was sort of right up the alley of my questions. So
yeah.
I'll just go really quick, because I know we've spent a little bit of time on this, but
and we actually have some other callers, so hang in there with us, everybody. We're gonna be checking in on you.
See, yeah, it is okay. It'll be fast. So Captain Ron asked me to sort of define what my questions were and really, kind of put it down. So really fast, 5 things. That these are the stories that I'm telling myself prior to this airplane ride. Lightning will hit the plane and knock out communications. Number 2, the airline will allow a plane to take off in bad or dangerous weather in order to stay on time. Number 3, unpredictable storm behavior will catch the pilots off guard. Number 4, lightning damaging the plane. And number 5 is, in general, the unstable air will create extreme turbulence.
Okay.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
We'll just go back through them real quick, and Eric and I will kind of debunk that. And what I want to do is kind of bring everybody up to date. I told them that you're in the middle of flying, and after not flying for a while, and pat yourself on the back. Kudos to you for getting that out there, because the only way you can get better is to go do it. The only way.
Right. And now I'm out here in Cleveland, and I want to go to California. So I need to go home.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you're motivated. But the thing, and so what the process is and this is what I do in coaching. And this is what, if you will, a follow-on skill that I give to people like Tracy. And that is what you need to do is find out, write down what the triggers are. Okay. In this case, it was a general one, lightning. It usually is. It's usually a big one, lightning, turbulence, whatever. But what's really important is to go down below the surface and find out what is it about that you're telling yourself. And that's why I say it's a story. You've heard me do E plus R equals O. You give me an event, I'll tell you that, life is not about the event. It's about what you think about the event that happened to you. And that determines your outcome in there. So for Tracy, what I did was I just gave her a quick text back, and I said, tell me the main stories that you're telling yourself. And so one of the things she said was lightning will hit the plane and knock out communications. Can that happen, Eric?
It's within the realm of physical possibility, but I never remember anybody at any of my airlines saying that they'd had their communications knocked out after a strike.
It's great. We're at greater risk if I spill my Coke on the center instrument panel, right?
Oh, that does major damage. That's huge damage. Yeah.
So the point you're gonna hear the theme through this, Tracy, is that while we love answering what if questions, the pain in your brain is never about the plane. It's about the story you tell yourself. So absolutely, every one of these things you have here, it represents some element of risk in flying, but it's the risk and the way we manage it that makes flying so safe there. So the next one was the airline will allow a plane to take off in bad, dangerous weather in order to stay on time. How do we prevent that, Eric?
Well, the airline is much smarter about that now, and has no desire to go out there, hold passengers on board, go back to the gate, because they will get fined heavily if they blow it. The pilots are the decision makers on that, and if it looks bad, they're not going to go. They have peer pressure of other guys not going. They have air traffic control with very good close-in weather observation. They have their own observations. And they have no motivation to get it done. And in fact, they have positive motivation to do it right and not go, number one. Number two, they get paid more. Number three, if they did decide to launch in inclement weather that was other than within the parameters of what they're supposed to be flying in, they'd probably get a nasty call from the chief pilot's office later discussing their judgment skills with them. So they're positively motivated not to take a chance and do that.
Absolutely. And how about unpredictable storm behavior catching us off guard? Well,
we generally, if there's a storm there, we know about it from dispatch. We know about it from live weather stuff from our iPads. We could see it on the radar, and we have people in front of us that have deviated around it one way or the other, advice from ATC, and we can make a decision. So all of a sudden having something appear like we're in the twilight zone, and we went through a rip in the space-time continuum and got surprised. Getting surprised is highly unusual.
Yeah, here I was sitting at the end of the runway at Reno years ago, and big old boomers started, and one formed right over the field, and you got that first gust, right? You could see the wind shifting and all that. I'm number 1 out of 5 airplanes. There's 4 more waiting behind me, and you could tell. I mean, I got hairs on my arm stand up right now. You're sitting there and you're looking at the situation and watching it develop, and you're saying, I want to get going and get these people where they're going, but I don't know. And so we sat there for about a minute or so, and then Tower said, okay, Cactus, you ready to go? And I said, you know what? We're gonna sit here and just wait this out for a few minutes and see what happens, because the greatest chance is we're going to get that downwash, that heavy first first gust that comes out of a thunderstorm. And I don't want to be flying at a time. And then and the funny thing was, everybody behind me popped in on the radio right away. He said, American, we're going to hold off. United, we're going to hold off. Southwest, we're going to hold off. And so it was like it had this domino effect, but a positive domino effect,
Yes, I agree exactly. There's more peer support than there is more peer pressure. And totally. If you tell the tower that we'll go ahead and taxi down the runway and get to the back of the line, the other guys are immediately going to pipe up and go, oh no, you can stay there. You're not holding us up. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of he hit me first. It's like, he said it first. So I'm going to just stay here and do that. Okay. All right. Lightning damaging the plane. Can it damage the plane, Eric?
It can and does damage the plane. We have static wicks on the airplane.
Sometimes, right? Sometimes, not always.
So occasionally, so that we can tell if we've had a strike, because it's often undetectable. We don't know. And the wicks at the trailing edge of the elevator and the wing surface will indicate if electricity got dissipated through the skin and out the back. So we'll at least know. That's how scary it is that we don't know that we've been hit. And occasionally, if a charge builds in excess of what those wicks can dissipate, it will make little teeny tiny holes in the skin, like it got hit with a BB gun. But once again, the flyability of the airplane is affected not at all. Not at all. And those are extreme circumstances where you took a direct hit. And even then, it's often undetectable to the pilots.
Yeah. So Tracy, if we haven't driven you off there, so when you hear that kind of stuff, can you compare that to when you and I were coaching? Or no? Okay, got it.
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by can I compare it to when we were coaching.
Yeah, that was let me rephrase that. After listening to Eric and I talk about that, tell me how you're doing now.
I'm doing better because, as you knew from flying with me, I love information, and I love to hear straight from the experts about, the more information I have, the better off I feel about it. So I understand that these are risks of some kind, but to hear how small they really are, and to hear it from people who actually know, and not people who are just patting me on the head and saying, it's okay, it's going to be okay, is really very helpful.
Yeah. And that was actually the answer that I was or the question I was looking to get an answer to. And that is that it doesn't change your, it's going to come and go. It's going to be episodic, and you're going to, you got a couple days before you jump on your flight. And so the anxiety may come back and all that. But when you continually look, really get down and get below the surface there and find out what are your actual fears, you can get questions to those. And that's why I think talking for most people, formally it's called cognitive behavior therapy, but really what it is, it's just getting your questions answered and educating yourself. And I remember when you and I flew, what was that, a couple of months ago now, you did great. You came to the terminal over in Ontario and you were a little nervous and you did fabulous, and can you remember you flew from LA to Phoenix, or Ontario to Phoenix, and then on to Cleveland, right? You did that last week, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the route we took.
Okay.
Yeah, to get
and how was that? How were those two flights just in general?
I have to say it was fine. I don't want to say that it was fine because then it just makes me silly.
You broke up a little bit.
And I never thought I said it was fine. I didn't want to say it was fine because it makes me silly. But the truth is it was fine. And so as embarrassing as that is, waiting 24 years is kind of a long time. But it's better. But I love hearing the voices of all of the people on Fearless Flight and the ones I read too. But like, for instance, going to Chicago and then to Ontario in 2 days, I'll be remembering what Eric just said. It'll be in my head, and I will use that to keep myself, off the ledge, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to interject that fine doesn't mean everything is perfect and you're not having any anxiety. Fine means that you feel more in control of limiting your anxiety. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and it's the tools. I have tools now.
Yeah.
I don't just, it's so many different ones that I've gotten over 2 years of doing Fearless Flight. But I didn't realize how many I had, but I have so many tools that I called upon, and some I didn't need to call upon. But boy, I've got a stockpile of tools. And I'm nervous as all get out, but I'm also more educated.
And what I like about people like you is to give an honest appraisal of what it's like, not to puff, not to say that, everything's fine, all that. I mean, in the sense of, you never had any anxiety. So anyway, anything else?
Oh, yeah. No, that I think is going to help me in 2 days. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. It was very timely for me to be able to call in tonight. So
and
sounds like you have other callers.
First. You broke the ice for Fearless Flight Live. And if we had a duck like Groucho used to have, we would have dropped that or played some crazy sound effects. But thanks so much, Tracy. So I am going to try now to move on to another call.
Have a great trip, Tracy.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
hang on.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. Thanks, Tracy. Okay. Here we go. Caller next. To move on to another great trip, Tracy.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey, who is this?
This is Paul Santa Cruz. How are you?
Hey, Paul. Great, another old face. Wait, if it weren't for you old timers, we Eric and I would be here stuck entertaining everybody again, which is not a pretty sight. So, how you doing?
It's good, really good. Yep, doing good. Long time to talk to. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get in here and.
I'm so grateful.
Let you know as far as
it's getting better. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got off a flight from Las Vegas, and I was going to say it can be pretty interesting because if you're flying during the afternoon, you're going to hit a lot of turbulence out of Phoenix, and you're going to hit a lot of turbulence out of Las Vegas. Yeah. And so it just kind of freaked me out a little bit. But I was just going to say what really helps is a lot, and that you've taught me, is kind of distractions really help, that you're not listening to that other voice, that you're afraid of the plane and that. And I was on Frontier, nothing against Frontier, but there's no Wi-Fi, so there's no way I can distract myself. But, I listen to music and stuff like that to and say, wait, this is completely safe. And I kind of talk myself down, But I remember we talked one time about, when it's bumpy, and you said, well, put a water cup in your car and drive on the freeway and watch how much that bounces. You're not even getting that kind of movement on the aircraft.
Good point. Yeah. And the whole thing about that is, that's the second leg that we talk about. First one was what we were working on with Tracy, and that is educate yourself, learn more about stuff. And then the second thing is to disrupt or distract yourself, whether it's through the harmonizer or whether it's, going over it in your own mind and remembering stories and stuff like that. But those are good points, Paul. So anyway, hey, thanks for calling in. I got
hey,
one.
Great talking to you guys, and I'll let you go. And awesome that you're back live at the Phoenix one. I'll definitely try and make it there.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it. And we want to bring you on as a guest again here. You're still our roving reporter there, Paul. So
you got it.
All okay. Right, thanks. Have a great evening. Okay, and here we go. Here is the next one. We lost some people. They probably got tired of me.
Oh, sure.
Doing that, but so let's see who this is. See the phone number ending in 3717. You're on the air. Can you hear me?
I heard the beep, and so yes, I know I'm on the air. Hello, Captain Ron. Hello, Captain Eric. This is Jim Duke. I figured I'd be one of the old timers calling in also.
I knew you would bail us out, Jim. I'm so glad. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and I live, just to what Paul just said, I live in the Palm Springs area, which is another wonderful airport to fly out of in the hot summer in the afternoon, and kind of have a question related to turbulence. And basically, does the size of an airplane matter, how the ride is? Example, a 737 or an A320 versus a CRJ or an Embraer?
I'm gonna jump on that with the first part there. The answer is yes. The deeper answer is, but not to the extent that you would hope. You would hope, if you think about it, it goes back to kind of like Galileo's experiment, right? He dropped a light object and a heavy object, and they both hit the ground at the same time. Okay, but when it comes to the size of the object, the bigger it is, there is momentum that's involved. So Newton's law of one of his laws of motion is about inertia. So the bigger the object, the less susceptible it is to gusts of wind. But when it comes to that, you may feel some reduction in the turbulence you're in if you're in not a 747 anymore, but a 777 or something like that. If you could, in that moment, jump out and jump in an Embraer right behind you, you might notice a little bit of difference. But for the most part, fearful flyers, it's never enough, right? And so you'd always wish it was less, but they still get bounced around in there. And frankly, one of the bumpiest flights I've ever had was on a 747 going into Vegas, so that anything to add to that, Eric?
Yeah, Jim, because Jim's all over this stuff and catches us all the time. Jim, are you familiar with the term wing loading? Wing loading refers to, at the gross takeoff weight of the airplane, how much weight the area of the wing can support. And some airplanes are better gliders than others that have tremendous lift with lots of wing area. So when it's gusty and that kind of thing, they'll move and be displaced more. Whereas if you were in a glider or a light plane in turbulence, it might really move it around. And the fighter who took off behind you in an F-18, which has extremely high wing loading, it doesn't need much lift because it has 8.5 bazillion pounds of thrust, so it doesn't need the lift, would go blasting through the same area, and somebody would say, was it bumpy or rough? And the guy would say, no, not at all. Didn't feel a thing. And he wouldn't be lying. He didn't feel much because the wings weren't having to support much of the load with the amount of thrust he had. So there's a difference in the way the wings and the lift react to that. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense, and thank you both for that answer. I think it cleared up something in my head that I was just thinking maybe a smaller plane would be more bumpy. So if it's bumpy, it's bumpy.
Yeah, but there is some merit to the fact that the smaller airplanes you're gonna notice it more, Jim. So good call. Hey, thanks, Jim. And I think you're waiting for a big cruise coming up, right?
I'm flying to Seattle in the first week of September and going to Alaska for a week. So it'll be my first time flying in almost 2 years. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, hope you have a great time.
And
Thanks, Jim.
Passage, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. All right.
I hope so.
All right, moving on. Thanks,
right,
Jim. Have a great evening. All right, our next caller, and this could be our last call. Looking for 6788. You're on the air.
Hello, guys.
Who is this?
It's Susan from Boston.
Oh my God! I knew we wouldn't get through the first show with that. How are you doing, Susan?
You know it. I am well. How are you?
Good. And thanks for help bailing us out on this first experiment that we're doing with another technology here. So, how's the temperature up? Oh, go ahead.
It's hotter than hell here. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful, and the storms are terrible. There is a delay in watching you guys in the voices and stuff. I just want to let you know that, but I think This is a great little additive to the show. So 2 things. 1, my niece just came back from Mexico, circling Boston in that terrible downpour, rain, thunder. It was awful. They diverted her to Providence. They landed in Providence. They wouldn't let them off of the plane. They were 12 feet from the jetway, and they wouldn't let her off of the plane because of the thunder and lightning. So I thought once you landed and you taxied, you were safe.
Right.
That's true.
So
And
I think.
I cut her off.
Go ahead. Eric.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
I was going to say, Susan, that's true. You are safe, the airplane could still be struck on the ground, but they're not worried about that. They're worried about the jet bridge getting hit with people in it, which would not be a good thing, especially with the nice metal railings in there to help support themselves. And the jetway driver, even with overtime money, pretty much doesn't want to drive the jet bridge around either if there's a risk of lightning striking the field. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Now I get it. Now I get it.
And the airlines, the airlines actually stop operations when there's severe lightning and thunderstorms ongoing.
Good. Okay, good to know.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for being one of our first callers, Susan. And I promise you, before I leave this planet, we're coming to Boston and we're going to go flying together. All right.
Oh,
all right. I look forward to it.
We got to go there and have 3 or 4 days for fine dining. Yeah, we got to go to Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have a great evening, and we'll see you back here next week, Susan.
All right. Be well, everybody.
Bye. Thanks.
All right. So my apologies to those of you who got tired of waiting on that. We had to get this. This is the ugly one, hopefully the ugly one, and next week will be better. And Eric and I mean, I'm somewhat impressed, even if you and I pulled this off. But anyway, so I'm glad that we got this one out of the way, Eric.
Yeah, we had an awful slow start, and when you said fill the dead air for once, I could think of nothing to escape my pie hole. And,
Exactly.
And I could just see Dieter and Diane hanging us. And my apologies to the viewers that tried to call in while we were fighting it. But there's a first time for everything, and that was that right there.
And for those of you who called in, I know there was an option to leave a message, and we will get those messages. So we will get to that material for next week at the very latest. So anyway, so I want to thank you. We've taken up enough of your time, and we're going to sneak off and catch our local Phoenix Suns here, wishing them well in the NBA playoffs. But other than that, thanks for joining us again this week. Eric, thanks a lot for being my wingman and helping me along there. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. And have a great week, everybody.
See you guys. Thanks for everybody who hung in. Thanks to callers, and thanks to the people who hung in through our slow start.